With the Halloween season now upon us, I decided to take a crack at making my own haunted house in honor of the Halloween season. So without further ado, here is my idea for an Annihilation haunted house. The facade for this house would be a giant screen with a giant projection of the shimmer on it. Guests would enter the house through a curtain with the projection of the shimmer on it at the base of the screen. The house would start with guests traveling through the forest, where giant flowers and weeds would jump out at guests to get a few early jump scares in. Eventually, guests would enter a shack with a pool of water at the end of it. The water would splash around a bit to give the illusion that something is swimming around in it. Once exiting the shack, a giant white-tinted alligator would jump out at the guests. This alligator would be an animatronic puppet. By having it not just being an automated system and having it being controlled by someone on the other side, we can have it jump out at the right time to properly scare guests and also avoid hitting guests in the middle of the lane. Once escaping the alligator, guests would enter an abandoned school where the walls would be covered with colored moss. From the walls, men covered in moss would jump out and attack guests. Because their moss on their bodies would be very similar to the moss on the wall, they'd be pretty well hidden, so these jump scares could work pretty well. Of course, we would also get a look at that iconic shot from the movie where you have the guy's legs just pretty much exploded into that mountain of moss. Once exiting the school, guests would enter a field with bushes that are shaped like humans. Some of these bushes would actually just be bushes, but others would be scare actors that would jump out at guests. After traveling through the field, guests would enter an abandoned house where they can hear a woman screaming. In the living room, there would be people tied up in chairs screaming for help, pretty similar to in the movie. We would then enter the kitchen where we encounter a deformed bear making the sounds of a woman screaming. Just like the alligator, this would be an animatronic puppet. We eventually escape the bear and the house, going through another smaller field of human bushes until eventually reaching a lighthouse. Once reaching the lighthouse, we would see marks from an explosion on the wall and a video camera playing a recording of a man's suicide, which is where the explosion marks came from.
5, 4, 3, 2.
We then travel through a hole in the wall leading to a dark tunnel. At the end of the tunnel is a room with a giant ball of light in the middle that's being fed light by a screaming woman who appears to be disintegrating. After circling around the ball of light, we encounter a blank-figured alien that tries to attack us. We then travel back into the tunnel where the alien jumps out at us multiple times. Once back in the lighthouse, we are presented with a screen that would show the alien mimicking our movements. This would be achieved by a camera recording us, and through the use of computer special effects, they could quickly and easily overlay the blank alien figure on top of anyone who came in front of the camera. While we are back in the lighthouse, however, the man we saw kill himself in the video jumps out at us, telling us to leave. We then turn the corner and see the exit of the maze, but right before we can leave, the alien appears again, except with burns all over it. Of course, those few little bits there at the end have a little bit more to do with the actual story of the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie, you might not understand what went on there. But I think that's fine to have in the context of the house, because people who have seen the movie now are kind of being rewarded by getting this stuff that they would only really know by watching the movie. And people who haven't seen the movie aren't left out of the dark necessarily, because it still is just as scary and just as entertaining, even if you haven't seen the movie. So that's pretty much my idea for the Annihilation haunted house. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I've never done anything like this as far as a haunted house goes. I have no idea if I even really hit the right beats or not. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.